All right, we are back. In this lecture, we're talking about two concepts for understanding and better conceptualizing what it is you are solving for your potential customers. The first is called frequency, and the second is called depth. Now, hopefully we have 3 pain points listed out from the last lecture. If you don't have that, please go back and redo the last lecture, and try a little bit harder, why don't you? Even the dullest, shrivelest fruit of an idea can still get some magic juice out of it if you squeeze hard enough. Yes, it can be moldy, infested, growing legs, shaped like that alien face in The Scream, and you can still, with enough effort, get something out of it. This lecture, by the way, brought to you by Tropicana Orange Juice. Oranges, the only fruit with the nutritional value of a Snickers bar. Now, what I want you to do is take each of these 3 and rate them based on the 2 dimensions of frequency and depth. Frequency just means how often does my target customer have this problem? Is it once a day, once a week, or once every 5 years? The pain of budgeting your finances is probably a daily or weekly pain, whereas the pain of moving apartments probably only happens every once, 4 or 5 years. Now, the pain of choosing college happens once or twice in your lifetime. So write down what you think the frequency is for your specific group, not people in general, your group, your peoples. And then the next concept is depth, as in when your user has this pain or problem, how big of a deal is it? Is it a nuisance or something that seriously disrupts their day? Not being able to keep track of your subscriptions, probably not a huge pain, whereas let's say you have super AIDS or bacterial meningitis, then it's probably a deep pain. Now, why do we do this exactly? Because when we go out there and start reaching out to our target customers, we need to know both, number 1, which pain point is the best to target and highlight, and number 2, we can then align our message with the way they feel about their problem. Writing a headline that says, "Don't you just hate it when you stay up all night because you keep having to decide where you're going to college?" That doesn't particularly make any sense. If your pitch doesn't make sense, then people aren't going to respond to it. Unless, of course, you are pitching the producers of Shark Tank, where they are almost always on the hunt for the William Hung of entrepreneurial elevator pitches. How do we use this information to determine which is the best to go with? Well, you might just assume the one with the higher frequency and higher depth is better, and that is true, but there's more nuance to it. Is medium depth and medium frequency, for instance, worse than, say, huge depth but no frequency? You're better off selling baby food than, say, a baby name generator. No, actually, in this theoretical circumstance, it is actually better. You generally want to look for something that is strong in one of the categories and then at least average in the other. Also, generally speaking, problems that are felt strongly generally trump frequent nagging problems. Of course, you can build a billion-dollar business off of both, but one is generally going to be a more ripe target for when you start reaching out to your customers. All right, so take a second and think through the pains you are hitting on with your product. Order them appropriately and consider this your weaponized toolbox because, we're going to use your problems against you. Anyway, moving on.